week about this and other language issues. Dr. Christine, thank you so much for talking with me tonight. You're an expert in all kinds of languages, languages that have occurred naturally, languages that have been made up. I want to throw some languages at you and just see what your thoughts are on all these languages.
Okay.
So, Elvish from Lord of the Rings.
I think it's an amazing language that started with Tolkien and his novels, and you don't get to see enough of it in The Lord of the Rings.
The Na'vi from the Avatar movie.
Yeah, I think the Na'vi community is amazing, and that's how I got into constructed languages, by learning who the Na'vi speakers were and doing a survey with them.
French. Now, that's a made-up language, surely?
You would think so, but in Canada, we're not allowed to say that because we learn French from a very early age, and we are, of course, a bilingual country.
Oh, okay. Oh, fantastic. Klingon. Yeah. Do you know much about the Klingon language?
I know a little bit about the Klingon language, although I'm not very good at speaking it.
I know one word, I think, which is which apparently is hangover.
Oh, yes, I've learned that. And I know the word for fish, oti.
Oh, okay. Now, is it true you have created your own language for the Man of Steel movie?
That's correct, yeah. I made up Kryptonian for the Man of Steel version of Superman.
So how does that work? Are they coming, they're knocking on your door and saying, oh, Dr. Christine, in your spare time, can you just knock up an entire language for us?
Pretty much, yeah.
And so it didn't end up in the movie, but that's still a language. Does anyone own that language?
Well, just to correct, it did end up in the movie, not the spoken version, but the written version of it is throughout everything. It's on walls and everything. And so it's actually owned by, I'll say it like that, by Warner Brothers.
So you can't sort of change or add words or do anything?
See, I can, but then it's not the official canonized version of the language.
Well, that's fascinating. If you look at that and then you look at this, what's happening with the Klingon language, where a judge has refused to rule on that, because, and in part that's because it's a living language. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, and that's what the Language Creation Society has argued in their brief about this as well, that Klingon has been around since 1984. There are people who speak it on a daily basis with their friends, or, you know, they're writing in it, they're playing Scrabble in it, and so they're living in it and using it every day.
Would it be a different case altogether if it was a dead language? I mean, a lot of people say that Latin is a dead language. Could I buy Latin?
It's very rare that I will say that a language is dead. In fact, I prefer to call languages sleeping because they can be awakened at certain points. As long as there's documentation of a language, you are able to wake it up again later. Latin was not created by one person, though, right? And so I think that's the difference there. Our natural languages tend to be evolving, and we may have trendsetters who will, you know, start a new word from something, but it's usually done as a cohesive unit. There's a lot of people working on making a language develop, and that's how Latin developed and other languages from there. So Latin's dead, but yeah, I don't think anyone could own it.
Do you have a preference either way? Do you think languages should be free, or do you think, you know, for example, the Klingon language, the Kryptonian language, do you think those kinds of made-up things should stay with their rightful creators?
No, I feel like they should be embraced by people who want to use them. Languages are made for communication, and so locking them away into a cupboard or something is not necessarily a good thing for any language. And so I really think that they should be allowed to be spoken by fans.
Dr. Christine, thank you so much for talking to me tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.